You could tell us your name and where you were born and when.
Ernest, my name is Ernest Paon. I was born in Paon in 1911.
In this house?
In this house, yes.
Okay. Now I noticed that in reading through your history that this house wasn't always here. It says the old homestead some 80 years ago was taken down in sections of Granite Road and was hauled to Paonville.
Right.
So whereabouts on Granite Road was it?
It's it's about halfway from this from Ayrshire to this Cooks, I would say. And it would have been about a mile in the woods.
Mile in the woods. Was it close to a lake or?
Yes, Rose. There was a little lake in back at our property.
Do you know why they moved to Paonville?
Well, yes, my mother felt lonesome there. She was away from her family. That was the reason that they moved.
Your mother was from Paonville, was she?
Yes.
And her name was, what was her name? Emma, is that right? No. What was your mother's name?
Mary Fouché.
Mary Fouché.
Before she was married.
And she was born here in Paonville?
Born in Paonville, yes.
And was that the house out on Granite Road, was that the only house around?
It was the only house at that time, yeah. There was one a little further on in the back there, but it was so far apart that they had so that they didn't have any company.
Who owned the house farther in the back?
I forget the name.
Was it Pong's also? Was it relatives of?
I just can't get the name.
So was that the place that the Pongs settled? Your Pongs settled when they came?
Right.
They went all the way in the woods?
Well, it was a house that the old Pongs had given to my father.
The old Pongs. Were they relatives of yours?
Yes.
And was your father born out there?
He was born out there, yes.
So was it a big farm out there, or what?
Yes, it was quite a farm.
How many acres?
Well, I don't know exactly the acres, but they used to keep a lot of cattle and make some hay, you know.
About how many head of cattle? A dozen or so?
Oh, well, about, I'd say 6 or 7 cows, you know, and then they had sheep and they had pigs and hens.
They had all the animals. A garden?
Oh, yes, planted a garden, planted potatoes.
Did they have anything else up there? They have a sawmill perhaps, or?
No, not exactly. They kept some geese.
So were they pretty much self-sufficient out there?
Oh, yes.
So did they sell anything off of the farm? Make money?
Well, not too much, I'd say. No. They just had enough for their own use.
So they would have done pretty much everything for themselves, making clothing and stuff like that.
Right.
Do you remember living out there, or was that before?
No, I never lived there. When I was born, the house was moved over here.
You say the house was moved in sections?
Right. And the way it was done at those times, there was a lot of snow. And it was all with horses. They had to pass over fences with the sections of the house.
Was it moved in winter? Was it moved in the winter?
Yeah, of course, yeah, they had to move it over to, there was so much snow at that time that they had to be careful that a horse wouldn't punch through the snow, especially when they came over a fence.
So about how old is this house?
Well, let's say it's close to 150 years old.
That's 100. And was there a house before that out on the Grand Lake Road, or is this the original? Is this the original house that was out on the Grand Lake Road?
Right.
This is the first one they built.
Yeah.
And could you describe the house a little bit? Upstairs and downstairs?
Well, it's the same house. There was no changes made. Only it was taken this down a section, put back up the same way as it was when they left Logside on Grange Road.
And what was your father's name?
Peter.
And do you know his parents?
Right.
Do you know his parents? Do you know their names? Your grandmother and grandfather on your father's side?
Well, it's all on that farm.
Mm-hmm. So you moved here because of your mother.
Right.
Was this your mother's land? This is where the house is now?
Well, yes. Well, it was belonging to our brother, and he gave her a piece of land so we could settle here.
And who was her brother?
Our brother Jeffrey Fouvier.
And where did he live?
He lived down the lower road, going down to the beach.
Is the house still standing?
Yes.
Who lives in it now?
Bernard Marchand.
And what about next door here? Is there any connection between this house and?
Well, she was my aunt that lived there.
Old Mrs. Bevan?
No, Mrs. Bevan, yeah. She died last year, 102 years of age.
She was your mother's sister?
Right.
And how old was your mother when she died?
She was almost 99. She was 98.
When was that? That couldn't have been that long ago.
Yeah.
All right. One of the things we're trying to do is get a sense of some of the history of the different little communities around. So you were brought up in Paonville.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the history of Paonville? What it was?
Well, to me, it was always fun.
Are there families that were living in Paonville that aren't here now?
Well, the most of my family is dead now. I only had one sister left of the family.
Who was that? Who's that?
Emma. She's in a nursing home in St. Peter's.
Are there family names that have disappeared from Paonville?
Well, I'm about the only one left, yes.
What was Paonville like when you were growing up here? What was that?
Well, it wasn't too easy. You know, you had to raise your like had to raise your cattle, you get your own meat, and then you plant your potatoes and stuff like that.
Is there anything, I know I heard there was a sawmill. Dunphy's had a sawmill down here.
Yes.
Could you describe that a little bit for me? The sawmill, where it was at and so on?
Well, that sawmill was down that lower road, the road going to the beach. And, yeah, he used to do a lot of sawing there. And playing some boards.
So who would he do the work for? Did he?
Well, he did the work for everybody. I took there some lumber, and during the winter we used to take a lot of it, some of it ourselves down there.
What was that for? What were you using the lumber for?
Well, at that time you could sell it. Now today you don't sell any more lumber. It's all plywood.
So you guys were going out in the woods, cutting the wood and
yeah.
taking it there
Right.
to be sawed.
Yeah.
And then who would you sell the lumber to?
Well, the people used to build. They used boards more than they use now, because now it's not used anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Very little.
So people used the boards. You sold it locally. Did you sell any to the people from away?
Well, around the island here.
So how much did that bring in a fair bit of income, or was it?
Well, at that time, yes.
So how much would you make for a square foot of board?
How much you got for a road?
Mm.
Well, it's hard for me to remember, but
That's okay. So that was one of the things that was going on. There was a school in Paonville?
right.
And where was that at?
It was down the lower road again, going to the beach.
Is that still standing?
Right.
The schoolhouse, is it still?
It's still there, yeah.
And who owns that now?
It's a fellow from Peter Great owns that.
So there was a school. Was there anything else? Was there a store in Paonville?
Well, there was little stores, yes.
A little store.
Little store.
Who owned that store?
When I was out for Fred Marshall in his store at that time.
Fred Marshall. Where's that?
It was again down the road going to the beach.
Is that house still there?
Yes.
Who's in that house?
Well, it's closed there at the present time.
What did he have in the store? Did he have groceries? And
Groceries, yeah.
did he carry dry goods?
Oh no, it was just a small store.
So what kinds of things would you buy at the store? You said you were pretty much self-sufficient. So what did you have to buy?
Oh, well, of course you had to buy tea and sugar and all that stuff.
Flour.
Flour, yeah.
So he had a store. So he had a store and a school and a sawmill.
Yeah.
Was there anything? Was there a post office or a?
Yes.
There was a post office too.
Right.
Who had the post office?
It was down at Albert Buller's.
That house still there?
It's still there, yeah.
And how did that work? Was there post office boxes like there is in Ayrshire now?
No, you just go there. There was a wicket, and they'd deliver your mail. They'd call your name. And
So you had to wait until the mail was.
right.
And how often would the mail come into Paonville?
Well, I think it was coming 3 times a week.
And where would it come from? From Ayrshire or from?
It would come from Ayrshire.
And how did it get to Ayrshire?
Well, we had a mail driver. His name was Robert McPherson. He used to take the mail to Ayrshire and take it back.
From Grand End?
No, from Ayrshire.
When they came by, did they come by boat to Ernest?
He came by boat, yeah.
So you had a store and a post office and a school and
Yeah.
a sawmill.
Yes.
Was there people building boats or fishing or anything like that?
Oh, they were fishing and farming.
Fishing and farming. Was everybody fishing and farming in Paonville?
Well, most of the people, yes.
And where did they launch their boats and tie their boats up?
Well, down upon the beach there, and of course it was a little different what they have today. They didn't have no wharf, and they had to haul their boats up the brook, which wasn't easy to do.
So how did they do that? All the boats up the brook?
Well, they get two on one on each side, and they put the oar underneath the boats, and that was the way they get the boat up.
They'd haul it how far up the brook?
Well, they'd haul it far enough so the high water tide wouldn't interfere with the boat.
So there was no wharf or anything. Did anybody have fish sheds down there?
Yes, they were.
Where were they at? Were they at the lower, down by where the beach is now, or?
Yes, there was some on both sides of the brook.
Mm-hmm. So all that's gone. Who was your family fishing? Did they fish?
Yes. My father fished and my brother fished.
Did you fish?
Very little.
So what were they? Were they fishing all year?
Oh no, just June and August or season.
Did they fish for mackerel or for herring, cod, or
Well, not too much.
mainly lobster?
Lobster.
So how did they sell? How did they sell the lobster?
Well, at those times they used to come around and pick up the lobsters.
How much were they getting for lobsters?
Well, now I forget now. I know that time the lobsters were 2 or 3 cents a pound. Small lobsters. They were very cheap.
And who was buying? Was there somebody locally who was buying?
No, there was a fellow from a fellow from the schools. He was in fact from Prairie, and he was buying lobster for an American firm.
What was his name?
I think his name was Wilfred Prairie from the schools from Prairie.
And he was the agent for the American company.
Yeah.
2 or 3 cents a pound, so they didn't make a whole lot of money.
No, but of course the bigger lobsters they were a little more, but the small lobsters they were awful cheap.
Were they getting more lobsters than they do today?
Oh yes, yeah, there was more lobster at that time.
Was it much more? Was they,
Oh yes, there was more. I believe that the causeway in Port Arthur has made a big change in the amount of lobsters here now.
How was that?
Because they can't get through the canal there.
Was lobster season longer at that time than it is now? Was lobster season longer?
About the same, I would say.
So they fish lobsters. They cut wood. They cut wood during the winter? Is that right?
Right.
And then what was the summer for?
Well, in the summertime they were all busy. When you take in the month of July, the people would have, well, first of all, in the spring they'd have to do some planting, and then later in the summer they had to make their hay, and then in the fall, of course, they had to dig those potatoes and produce for the winter. in the wood in the fall, and they'd be out in the woods cutting the firewood for the winter. So they were kept busy pretty well year round.
To go back to Paonville for a minute, was there anybody building boats in Paonville?
Well, there were some that did boats, yeah.
Did anybody do it for a living?
Not exactly for a living, they do it for their neighbours, which needed a boat or something like that.
Who did that?
He was my uncle, Felix Martin.
Felix Martel. And what was he building? Fishing vessels and dories?
Right.
They weren't building bigger sailing vessels, were they?
No.
Smaller. Was there anybody who owned bigger vessels in Paonville? Is there anybody who owned the bigger sailing vessels in Paonville?
No.
All right, you were telling us about your uncle who built the boats. Where did he do that? Did he have a shop?
Well, he did it wherever people wanted to have the boat built.
Okay.
And in fact, they built some in our own barn here.
Did your family help him with that? Did you ever do that?
Well, not myself, my brother did.
So was there more people in Paonville at that time?
Well, I would say so, yes. Yeah, it seems that more people are moving out. And of course, there's a lot of old people that passed away since that time.
So you were pretty much working all year round.
Right.
I've heard a lot of people say they pick berries in the obviously September and so on.
Oh, yes.
Was that part of it too?
Yes.
Was it? Did you pick for your own use or was it for?
Well, no, at that time they used, I didn't pick too much myself because I was kind of young, but my brother and sisters did a lot of picking berries. We used to sell them. You'd buy your flour and stuff like that for the winter with the money you made from the sale of your berries. Of course, berries were plentiful at that time.
Where did you pick? Here in Paonville?
Yes, it was yes, it was going to Irish at there, what you call on top of Larry's Hill. There wasn't trees, it was all open.
It was all open on top of Larry's Hill?
Right.
Why was that a field or?
Well, no, it was just it happened that there are so many cattle that they ate all the lead, the tree, they had the trees and everything like that, not altogether the trees, but the grass. They kept everything clean.
So there was no trees on Larry's Hill, it was because of the cattle?
Very few trees.
And who grazed their cattle up there? Was it people from Paonville or people from there?
Well, it was the people from around here. They all had cattle, and of course they all went there, and they even, I remember like Johnny, Mr. Murray from came around taking, in the spring you take about 50 head of cattle up around here, and in the fall you bring them back home.
So you just take the cattle and leave them go all summer?
All summer, yes.
And how did they round them up in the fall?
Well, it seems they didn't have any trouble. They just go by with all their cattle. They must have stayed together.
What about here? Did your cattle wander around like that?
Oh yes, you put them out, You put them out in the morning, and some cattle will come back home by themselves, but I know many's the time that I had to go in the woods, go and get our cows.
So the cows just what? They just fall asleep in the woods? Or?
Yeah.
So that was the cattle. Were the other animals allowed? All the animals allowed to roam around like that?
Oh, yes. And sheep. Going to Irish houses, always you see old sheep on the side of the road, and cows and horses.
Did you guys have sheep when you were? You said you had sheep in Grandy Grove, but was there sheep here?
Yeah, we had sheep here also.
So you had sheep and cows, pigs?
Pigs, yeah.
So how many pigs would you have?
Well, wouldn't you? We just keep a pig. Oh, geez, we killed a pig and you had your pork for the winter. You saw the pork.
And what are the cattle the same? Cows the same?
Huh?
The cows, same thing with the cows? Would you kill a cow in the fall?
Yeah, we killed a cow in the fall. Yeah, you take a cow and you'd hang a quart of beef in a shed, and then in the winter time you could go and get a slice of steak whenever you felt like it.
So what, you sold lobsters to make money, picked berries, sold boards. Is there anything else that you sold or did to make a living?
Well, not exactly. I can't think of.
So you were out here with no electricity. When did the electricity come?
Well, I can't get the exact date. It's quite a while now that we're having electricity all like that.
But what was it like before electricity? What time did you go to bed at night?
What time we went to bed?
Mm.
Well, we didn't go to bed any earlier, I don't think.
What did you use for light?
No, you had lamps, kerosene.
You didn't go to bed any earlier. What time did you get up in the morning to do this?
Well, I'd say pretty well at the same time.
So that really didn't make much difference.
No.
With electricity or without electricity. What difference did getting electricity make? Did it change the lifestyle in it?
Oh, well, it sure does, you know. There's no doubt about that. Makes an awful change. You have better lights in here. So much equipment that you can use that you couldn't use before.
So what about a telephone? Was there a telephone? Was there any telephones in Paon?
No, no, I don't remember having any here at all.
So if you had to send a message away, what did you?
Well, I suppose you'd have to go to Irish or something.
What about radios? Was there any radio?
Well, there was radios. They were battery operated.
Battery operated.
Yeah.
So what? Could you use them all day long, or was it?
Well, they could be used for quite a length of time at that time.
And what stations were there to listen to?
Well, I guess there wasn't too many stations. Just don't remember.
What about the roads? Must have been. Was it hard? How did you get out of Paonville? When you went to church, how did you go to church?
Well, you had to walk to church.
How long did that take?
Well, it took at least an hour, probably a little over. Yeah.
You had to walk to church.
Walk to church, yeah. You take off your sneakers and you walk home with them. No pavement.
You walk home bare feet.
Bare feet, yeah.
All winter long too?
Oh, well, no, not in the winter.
Did you walk to church though in the winter?
Of course. Yeah, and you didn't have no snow plows at that time. Sometimes you had to push the snow from here to Irish to the church.
Push the snow, you mean shovel out the...
Well, you were going along and the roads weren't open and you had sometimes snow up almost up to your knees.
So would you go in the airshed just once a week for church, or would you go in the airshed more often during the week?
Well, I'd say you'd only go pretty well on Sunday.
So in the run of the year, how many trips would you make into the airshed?
To church, you mean?
Or no, besides going to church, would you ever go in the airshed for anything?
Oh, yes, but sometimes you didn't go too often because, like I say, you had to walk if you went.
So what would take you in the airshed? Would go to a dance or go to the store?
Well, you had to go and do some shopping, and of course, what you needed, there was only small stores around there, and then, of course, there was always something else that you needed.
What about for a dance or something like that? Would you go in the airshed for that?
Then,
A dance or a party or...
well, we had our own party. We usually, the schoolhouse here.
The schoolhouse, what was that? Was there a dance in the schoolhouse?
The schoolhouse down the lower road there, like I mentioned before.
So what would you have in the schoolhouse? A dance or a...
A dance, yeah.
And was that just people from Paonville, or was people...
Well, sometimes they come from different parishes, all right. But it was mostly local people from Paonville.
Who played the music?
Well, it was all they played night long was an accordion. That's the music you had.
An accordion. Who
Yeah.
played the accordion?
Tommy Allen.
Tommy Allen.
Yeah.
Where was he from?
When he was from across the pond there.
South Paonville.
But those are good old days, you know. Like, I think the women, they were all well dressed, you know, like, you wouldn't go to dance if they didn't have a new dress. And the same like the men, they all had to have nice suits, and they wouldn't go if they didn't have a white shirt and a night tie.
How often would you have a dance? Every week or once a month?
Oh, probably once a month, I would say.
So it was a big affair. Was there any other form of... Did people have parties in their houses, or
When they used to play cards,
what did they play?
when the different houses, you know.
Or what card games did they play? Same as now, or?
Oh, it was much the same as now, like Auction 45 and stuff like that.
So there was card playing, there was dances at the school.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that people got together to do? Was there?
Not too much more now.
people talk about different holidays where Christmas was celebrated, right?
Oh,
how,
yes.
how was Christmas celebrated?
Well, it wasn't a big celebration because the people didn't have the means at that time to do much celebration, but there was always something that showed that it was Christmas.
So what would you get as a gift at Christmas?
Well, yes.
What kinds of things would you get then? What kinds of presents would you get?
Well, I don't know exactly, but they weren't very expensive. Or sometimes a necktie or cufflinks or all this, so forth and so on, so forth.
What about birthdays? Were birthdays celebrated?
Yes.
Halloween?
Not too much at those times.
So there was no trick or treating?
No.
And what about, I heard people talk about the Micker.
Oh yes, that was popular at that time.
How did that work?
When you put a mask over your face and you try to disguise yourself, and you go in houses to see if they'd know you. There was a lot of fun.
What time of the year was it?
It was before Lent.
So it was before that.
Yeah.
And would you go to other places, or would you just stay in Paon? Would you walk to?
Well, sometimes people go in different places, like Peter the Great and stuff like that.
So in all these activities, was there much drinking, fighting, and stuff like that, or was it?
What do you mean?
Did people drink when they went, like if they went to a dance at the school, did people drink, or was it all?
Well, not too much. I wouldn't say that. Suppose they took a little drink, but when they could get it. But you never seen too many drunks.
So was it hard to get liquor?
Well, no, not true. It was hard to get because you didn't have money.
Okay. So did people make their own liquor? Were there people who made their own?
Oh no. Well, some people made some wine, all right. Very, very few.
So liquor wasn't a big thing. What about fighting? Did people? Is it common to see people fighting at one of those dances?
Well, sometimes. Sometimes they get in a little row, but it wouldn't amount to too much.
Another thing we're interested in is we've been doing these interviews, we've heard different stories. We've heard that there were Indians who came to the island. Indians who came part of the year to the island. Do you remember that? Was there any that came through Paonville?
No, not as I remember, no.
We also heard that there were gypsies.
Well, there were some, yeah. Gypsies would come around, and when they come in the summertime, I know there were some, they put some tent there in back of ferry shed, I remember one year. And people were kind of afraid of them.
they come to Irish? What did they come to the island for?
Well, now I wouldn't know.
Were they picking berries? Were they selling to?
Well, not too much. What brought them here, I don't know.
So were they real gypsies with the wagons and
Oh yes,
funny, colourful dress,
you're right.
dark skin,
Yeah.
with their own language and all?
Yes. Yeah, you didn't understand.
So did they? Why were people scared of them?
Well, I don't know. Of course, sometimes they come, they'd have those big dogs with them.
Another thing we've heard people talk about is the earthquake in 1929. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Was it bad here in Paonville, or
it was bad enough, yes.
what happened?
Well, of course, not too much happened here. Because, like here, we're more at the shelter. You're not like what happened to the school in Ireland. You're more exposed to the wind there.
What happened to the school in Irish?
Well, the roof had blew off.
I've heard it said when we were talking to different people that the old people were good at predicting the weather.
Well, yes, some of them were very good at it.
What kinds of things did they look for to predict the weather?
Well, they'd look at the clouds. I know one time that I happened to be out fishing with my uncle, and there were some more traps we were going to pass, and he said, well, it's going to blow. I looked at the sky, and there was just one cloud in the sky. I couldn't see any wind, but when we landed at the wharf, everything was falling apart. How could he tell there was wind in that cloud? I still don't understand.
So you looked at the clouds.
Yeah.
What other things did they look for?
I don't know, just seen that cloud and said, it's going to blow. And he was right.
I've heard too that they believed that the moon influenced it.
Oh, yes. Yes, if they cut some wood, they go by the moon, even if they kill cattle or something like that.
What kind of moon did you need to cut wood?
Well, now, I forget if it was, I just don't forget if it was full moon or could have been full moon or something like that.
And to kill the animals.
Yeah, you do the same thing. They went by the moon.
What about home remedies? I've heard people say that there was they made their own remedies in the home if you had a cough or a cold.
Well, some of them would do that. They'd go in the woods and get some bark off trees and they'd boil that and they'd make it and it would become like a syrup. And they said it was good for a cough.
What else did they use if you had an earache, like, what was the cure for an earache? An earache?
Earache?
What about a boil or something?
Oh, well, they make their own poultice.
So just ask a few more questions about hunting, fishing, cutting wood and all that stuff. Did they burn any coal out here?
Yes.
Where did they get the coal from?
There was truck drivers, all that coal from Sydney.
All the way from Sydney.
Yeah. Fellow used to sell us some coal from Newburgh. For the scoops.
So how much coal would you buy for the winter?
Well, we wouldn't buy too much because you're using wood most of the time.
So tell me about cutting the wood. How would you? What did you use to cut the wood?
Well, you had a kind of a box on, you'd get one on each side of the saw. That's the way the tree would come down. There was no power saws at those times.
And how did you saw the limbs off it?
Well, you
Broke it up
with an axe.
Or an axe? And what about cutting it up and that?
Well, you use your saw again.
Use the saw, yeah. And how was that hauled home?
You'd haul it home with your horse.
Horses, like. And then it all had to be split.
And then you saw it in chunks for a fire stove. And you take your axe and you split it.
So how much work was that? How many days would you spend in the woods cutting wood for the winter? Did it take all winter?
Oh, no. No, it took some time, all right, because it was slow work. Oh, 2 or 3 weeks, I would say.
What about hunting? Oh, they do any hunting?
No, hunting is the thing. There wasn't too much. Well, they used to hunt for rabbits in those times.
With snares?
They were serious, yeah.
The people didn't go after deer or anything?
Oh, no.
We go back to fishing. Just get an idea of some of the equipment and stuff. Did they have engines on the boats?
Engines?
Engines, yeah.
Some had, some didn't.
So there were some people who...
First, there was no engine, and then the time came that people who could afford an engine had one.
So people would row their boats
Right.
full of lobster.
Yeah.
How far would they go out into the bay here?
Well, they'd go as far as we called out to the rock there.
They'd row out there and back.
Right.
How big were these boats? Did they have cabins on them?
Oh, no, they were just open boats.
About how many? How long were they?
Well, I'd say, I don't know exactly, probably 18 feet or something like that.
So they weren't large vessels?
Oh, no.
Did you have another smaller boat with it, or did you just have the big boat?
Well, sometimes they had some, what they call a dory, When the time came that they had larger boats and they couldn't take them ashore, they had to anchor them outside, and then they had to have a dory from the boat to the shore.
Did they have sails on those?
Well, yes, yeah, they used seals. They didn't use the seals so much when they were fishing. They had to do the rowing.
And all the pots were hauled by hand?
All by hand, yes.
So how many pots did you set? Now they said 275 of that.
Well, that's what that probably said. No, it's probably another 100 or something like that.
100 pots. And were those all made by hand? Or
By hands,
by the fishermen?
right.
But nobody in Paonville made a living just on fishing.
No, no. Well, they used to do some road work too. They used to go, of course you had to go and take a pick and a shovel and go and make drains. Those times you'd use to fill potholes, you take your horse and your cart, and that's the windows being done.
So you had to do that? You didn't get paid for that? No?
Well, yes, you were getting paid for it, but the wages weren't very high.
In terms of the farming, what equipment was used then that's not used now? How was the hay cut?
Well, they got the most of us got to it with a hand side.
Would they give you enough hay for it?
Oh yes, you know, when the people they were used to it. They would mow quite a piece of land with a hand side. They were used to it, you know. Then later on, of course, came the mowing machine.
Well,
I seen my father mow that field in Grandig Road, where we took the house from, mowing all that field with a hand side. And it was quite a field, and a lot of hay.
all by himself. So you never had to buy hay from anybody?
No.
Did anybody have to, or what?
Well, so, yeah, sometimes some people wouldn't have quite enough hay for their stock.
Was there anybody in Paonville who left to work during the summer, let's say, or?
That left to go somewhere else and work. Yes, all my brothers had to do that. They'd go away and they'd come back in the fall for the winter.
Where did they go?
Well, they'd go to the States.
So what kinds of things did they be doing in the States?
Well, they were fishing. They were on boats. What you'd call it at that time, they went pogie fishing.
They'd make their money for the year.
Yeah.
So they'd be gone from the spring until the fall?
Until the fall, yeah.
They'd come back for the winter.
Right.
How long did that go on?
Well, it went for quite a while until they settled there in the States.
So most of your family ended up in the States?
Yes.
How many of your brothers went to the States?
3.
Which ones were there? What were their names?
Raymond, Clarence, and
And who stayed here?
James, and myself.
Was there anybody out this way in Paonville or Rocky Bay or wherever who practiced a trade, a blacksmith or a tinsmith or a cooper or anybody like that?
Yes, we had a blacksmith, too, which was Robert McPherson.
What was
He used to shoe horses.
Where was his?
His place, he was on the Discourse Road.
In where the Martells live now?
Well, it was further down this way, just, I'd say we're almost halfway.
The house is not there now.
Yes, the house is still there.
Who's that?
Now it's Lloyd. LeBlanc. We stay there.
And did he have a forge?
No, the forge is torn down and been torn down for years.
But he had one there.
Yeah, right.
Was it a stone building or a wooden building?
It was a wood building.
Was it big or?
Right.
Is it a big building or?
Oh no, it's just a small building.
Where did he come from, McPherson? That doesn't sound like a Paonville name.
Huh?
That doesn't sound like a name you find in Paonville, McPherson.
Yeah, but he was from the country, so.
He moved in here. Did he have a family?
Well, he just had a daughter.
She didn't stay around here.
Well, she's a waste.
Was there any other people who had trades like that? A tinsmith or a cooper or rope maker, sail maker?
No, the only thing we had, like carpenters.
Did they do it for a living?
Well, yes, sometimes it worked for people,
Who did that?
Well, at that time, there was of course, my time, was anything better at my time, he was a good carpenter. And then I had an uncle which was much older than me. He used to take jobs. He was a good carpenter, and then he'd haul buildings. He'd haul them with those buildings with tables. He'd put them put some planks underneath them, and he'd haul them with tables.
What was his name?
You're coming from, you go to West Airshed and haul some buildings and come home at all hours of night. You could hear the wheels of the truck on the gravel road.
There were a lot of people who had to have buildings on.
Well, there's always some buildings that had to be moved. You take even that house down below there, it was on the other side of the swamp, and it was moved on this side, and he's the one that done the job. But you didn't have the equipment that you have now.
What was his name?
But like I said, Felix Martel.
Oh, okay. You said there was, I'll just leave the tape off. You said there was no sea captains or anything in Paonville, right?
No.
And nobody who owned big vessels?
No.
Rum running or anything like that?
No, not around
And was there anybody who was really rich in Paonville?
here. Well, no.
There was no one who had a lot of money?
No.
Families that left, was there anyone Any family names that disappeared, you said, McPherson's was there. Was there any others that lived in Paonville and the families are gone?
No, not of their family.
Was there any characters, you know, people who were crazy or people who were good singers or strong or fighters or anything like that?
No, not offhand.
People who were good storytellers or...
Sometimes it's hard to, there might be some, but it's hard to remember.
Is there any roads or streams or anything like that around? The names of... How could I put that? Is there any names for any of these streets or roads or anything that aren't, people don't know of today? Like the stream going from Shaw's Lake into the bay. Is there a name for that?
What do you mean?
The stream going through Paonville there. The river there.
Oh, the brook going
Yeah,
down?
yeah.
No, there's no name. There's no name for that.
What about that little lane there that connects this road to the lower road?
What about this lane?
Yeah, well, there's one over there, the dirt by Dorelli Gibbs.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, there's nothing too much against about that.
Is there a name for it?
No, there's no name. They just got Gibbs's Lane. There was always one by Gibbs's Lane, yeah.
Is there any peddlers that came through?
Oh, there was some, yes. Santa Claus and stuff like that.
Okay, I got that. 3 more questions I'm going to ask, and then we'll get some shots of it outside. All right, I just wanted to ask a few questions about childhood. When you were a child, and what was your duties in the house? What were your chores?
Well, you had to go out and, for instance, milking cows, and you had to separate the milk and all that. As was one. Of course, you had to feed your cattle and stuff like that.
What did you do for entertainment when you were kids? What kind of games did you play?
Well, you'd play card most of the time.
Is there any sports that you played? Did you play baseball or hockey?
Well, we play ball, yes. I was going to school. We played what you call peggy.
So you played peggy?
And played peggy, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, you had a little peggy and you'd hit under it and you'd try and drive it as far as you could. And then you'd come so many feet and you'd put down your bat, and to put the feller out you had to take the pig in and hit the bat. Then you took his place.
Did you play baseball and hockey?
Oh yeah. Well, not there wasn't too much hockey at that time. Uh, we used to play hockey, but you know, times were different than what they are today. You take, for instance, on Charles Lake, you'd go there, you'd look at the lake, and there was always an ox or a horse. Well, not one, but a number of them coming down Charles Lake with a load of wood. Whenever you looked, there was somebody on that lake. And then on Sundays, people were skating, and some had cars and some had bicycles. They even had some, what you call, ice boats.
Ice boat.
Yeah. So,
Who had the ice boats?
local people around here, they just made them with they had a sail. They used the sail from their fishing boat. And on Sunday, they had races. There was some fine looking horses in there.
On Shaw's Lake.
On Shaw's Lake, it was pretty to see.
Who had horses?
Well,
Who would race the horses?
well, there was, different ones. There was John and LeBlanc from Ernest, and even at that time, Dr. Remedy, and there was some nice horses. And even on I seen them racing down on the Irish at Arbor. And I seen them there Sunday to my surprise. I seen some nice horses racing in the Irish at Arbor, and I seen Numa Burgess coming with a horse with a big wooden sleigh, and his axe tied to the back to the stakes. Went down on the ice, got in the race, and bet all the other horses.
Talk a little bit about school for a minute. Who was teaching school? Was nuns teaching school in Paonville, or was it?
No, it was regular teachers.
From the area?
Yeah.
And was it just one class for the whole?
One class, yeah.
For all the grades.
Right.
And how many grades was there in that school? How far did it go?
Well, it went as far as grade 12. Well, no, there wasn't 12, I want to say, probably grade 11.
Where did you go for grade 12?
I mentioned you might have went to Irish, but of course at that time you had to write your provincials in Irish.
Provincial exam?
Yeah.
At the school or at the convent?
It was at school that it went. It was what you call the Irish Academy. And of course when you talked about the Irish Academy at that time, it was quite a building. In fact, I wrote my provincials there myself.
So you come in at the end of the year to write provincials?
Right.
What was the academy like?
Pardon?
What was the Ernest Academy like? What kind of a building was it? Can you describe it to me?
Well, it wasn't a very big building. It was just a square building. But it was, when you talk about the Irish Academy at that time, you were talking about quite a building.
Can you tell me a little bit about religion at that time? You mentioned that you walked into Ernest to church every week on Sunday.
Yes. Not only on Sunday, but you would go to confession and
When was that?
in the mornings,
On Sunday morning?
sometimes during the week, you'd get up at probably 4 o'clock or something like that. Sometimes it was still dark when you'd get an air shut. And of course you didn't have a drink of water or a bit of food after 12 o'clock. You walked the disc to air shut and had nothing to eat, and you have to walk back again before you got your breakfast.
You also go to church. And then you go in during the week for confession.
And no, it was on weekdays.
On weekdays you go to mass as well?
And now you're going to confession
Once a week?
Oh, you wouldn't go that often. No. You go to church every Sunday.
You go to communion every week? In church?
No, not as much. No.
Why? Why was that?
Well, you couldn't walk. It was hard for you to get to church. You had to walk.
But when you were in church, did you go to communion every Sunday?
No.
Why didn't you go to communion?
Well, I don't know until it was. They didn't do it that way at that time.
What about
Well, some went. Some went, all right. It wasn't done the same way as it is being done now.
And what about in the house? Was there much religion in the house?
Pardon?
At home? At home, what kind of religion was there at home? Did you have to say prayers every night, or?
Oh yes, when nobody went out before the rosary was said.
After supper?
Yeah, after supper.
Was that every night, or?
That was, I would say, almost every night. Even if somebody went to the dance, they'd have to say the rosary before going.
I'm wondering if you could just tell me a little bit about what you did, the kind of jobs that you had, just briefly.
The job I did in my life, you mean? Well, I started right on. I worked for a mill down the dairy. Well, first of all, I'd say I was reading meters for the power commission for a number of years. And then I left that and I went working for a mill, working down the dairy.
What were you doing at the dairy?
I was bookkeeper there. And then when they sold the dairy, I moved up to each place as a bookkeeper there. And altogether I was working for about 30 years. So they regard me as one of the family.
Do you have anything else that you want to say?